But I wanted to say this is a very beautiful country. Before conference, I just look Mongolia in the movie and in the book only. And now we can see all of us can say this is very beautiful. There are many beautiful girls. Although Vietnamese Buddhism have long history, more than 1,000 years ago. But I'm very surprised because Buddhism in Mongolia younger than Buddhism in Vietnam. But Buddhist women in Mongolia know very well about Buddhism. They mention many times about some Buddhist terminology, for example, nirvana, emptiness, wisdom, concentration, happiness, and make me very surprised. I think Buddhist women in Vietnam have to learn a lot from you. Yes, I think so. One thing, although this is the first time I come to the conference of Sakadita, I'm very proud of the Buddhist women of the world. You are very excellent, and I think there are many stories, very good stories I will tell with all students, monks and nuns in Buddhist University at Ho Chi Minh City. And now I start my paper. First part, contemporary Vietnamese Buddhism. At present in Vietnam, the three major Buddhist traditions, Mahayana, Theravada, and Medican, are only developing strongly, but also having a deep impact on Vietnamese Buddhist people. The Mahayana tradition has the largest number of Buddhist nuns, the Medican next, and the Theravada nuns fewest, due to internal regulations. However, the Vietnam Buddhist Sangha, established in 1981, has uniquely managed to organize the temples and monasteries of these three Buddhist traditions in a spirit of solidarity and harmony. The leadership structure of Buddhist organizations includes both monks and nuns. The roles of Vietnamese Buddhist nuns are being manifested fully within these organizations. Second part, exemplary Vietnamese Buddhist nuns. Vietnamese Buddhist women are proud of their long history. Since the beginning of the 1st century CE, many women, heroes, queens, and princesses who lived during the Hai Ba Trinh dynasty in northern Vietnam have participated in struggle for independence. They consider fame just as thorns, sandals, and return to their temples afterwards to continue an outstanding monastic life. During the reign of King Lý Thánh Tông, the most prominent Vietnamese Buddhist nuns were Diệu Nhân, a member of royal family who was originally named Ngọc Kiều. After she left home, she became a nun with Zen Master Chân Không and belonged to the 17th generation of Vinitarusi Zen sect. After achieving the path, she was appointed as the head of Hương Hải Nunnery by Zen Master Chân Không. Before her death, she summoned her disciples and spoke a last verse that revealed her attainment of enlightenment. In southern Vietnam, into 20th century, many nuns contribute to the resurgence of monastic life and Buddhist practice, such as Bhikkhuni Diệu Ngọc, Diệu Tịnh, another senior Vietnamese Buddhist nun who was an exemplary daughter of Buddha, was Bhikkhuni Như Thanh. After a life of bodhisattva activities, such as establishing the Vietnamese Buddhist nuns assembly, her last words were, "I will return to this world to complete my unfinished work because I love Buddhist nuns very much. They need leaders for their religious lives." Another example is Bhikkhuni Giác Nhẫn, who left many relics as evidence of the refined monastery life she led and the virtues she had perfected. In the Medican tradition, well-known nuns included Bhikkhunis Huỳnh Liên, Bạch Liên, who devoted their entire lives for peace and welfare for human beings, as well as national liberation and unification. In the educational domain, Bhikkhuni Tihai bequeathed to future generations many valued translation and written works that are highly appreciated by Buddhists in Vietnam and abroad. In addition to these exemplary nuns, there are many Buddhist nuns who practice the Buddha teaching quietly in hermitages, whose biographies have not been recorded in the base of Buddhist history of Vietnam. Third part, Vietnamese Buddhist nun roles in contemporary life. In the early 21st century, in part with Buddhist development, the number of Vietnamese Buddhist nuns has increased markedly. It's estimated that currently 54% of the 50,000 monks and nuns in the country are nuns, many of whom hold high degrees. The quality of Vietnamese Buddhist nuns is not evaluated so much by their numbers or their educational achievements, but by their individual competence and efforts in religious life through spreading the Dharma and relieving human suffering. Despite the many challenges of contemporary life, here I cite a few examples of the roles that Vietnamese nuns are taking. First, at the International Congress on Buddhist Women's Role in the Sangha, Bhikkhuni Vinaya and Ordination Lineage held at Hamburg University, Germany in July 2007, present to note that full ordination was requested for favorable conditions for Buddhist nuns. In this regard, it should be noted that Vietnamese Buddhist nuns observe the precept of novice nun, Saramanirika, Sikhamanana, and fully ordained Bhikkhuni. In addition, the observer the Bodhisattva precepts by assuming the rights to ordination. Vietnamese Buddhist nuns have created favorable conditions to play a prominent role in the historical development of Vietnamese Buddhist history for more than 1,000 years. Second, the Charter of Vietnamese Buddhist Congregation fully acknowledges that religious status of nuns is equivalent to that of monks. Third, depending on personal competence and moral picture, the Vietnam Buddhist Sangha may invite or appoint nuns to undertake positions in various organizations or to head Zen monastery, pagoda, and temple affiliated with the congregation. Most temple, Zen monastery, and nunneries of nuns are currently directed by senior nuns. Fourth, Vietnamese Buddhist nuns are engaged in all aspects of life, including the construction and restoration of temples, social and charitable activities, family relief, and government projects for poverty alleviation. The Red Cross Association of Vietnam considers nuns' temple at the core of social and charitable activities. As a result, Vietnamese Buddhist nuns have been instrumental in relieving the suffering of living beings and bringing practical benefits to people. Fifth, the majority of nuns who study abroad in India, China, Taiwan, and Myanmar return to Vietnam after graduation to share their practical competence in the fields of communications, education, Buddhist activities, and social welfare in response to the spiritual needs of Buddhists now and for future generations. Sixth, at the Buddhist University of Ho Chi Minh City, nuns have earned well-deserved positions in the field of education. Nuns may teach all subjects to both nuns and monks and are encouraged to give lectures at all conferences. From these examples, it is clear that Vietnamese nuns have demonstrated their abilities in all aspects of religious life and on fields of human individual. Nevertheless, there is still room for improvement. First, at present, Vietnamese nuns are numerous, but the quality of spiritual cultivation, especially among young nuns, is still limited. The quality of their studies is impaired by destruction in their surroundings, a common concern in contemporary life. Second, as daughter of the Buddha, we have a firm belief that all men and women have the Buddha nature, but because Asian societies and influenced by the Confucian tradition, some Vietnamese nuns are still lack self-confidence and underestimate their ability in monastic practice. Thus, factionalism and localism persist in some Vietnamese nuns communities and acts as a constraint in organizing large-scale Buddhist activities. And conclusion. Through this discussion about the role Vietnamese Buddhist nuns can play in contemporary life, we may draw some valuable lessons. First, Vietnam Buddhists have applied the Buddha teaching on no self in the organization of Vietnam Buddhist Sangha, which managed to harmoniously unite all Buddhist traditions, including both monks and nuns, in a spirit of harmony. As a result, Buddhist activities can be quickly and successfully organized, as evident at recent 5th United Nations Vesak Day celebration in Hanoi. Second, Vietnamese nuns are free to practice and achieve success in all fields and aspects of life, despite the challenges of the modern age, because of long history of respect for women over a long period of establishing and defending the nation, thanks to a history of respect for women, which has penetrated deeply in the consciousness of Vietnamese men. The roles of nuns in Vietnamese Buddhist history were naturally established from ancient time until the present. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Heartfelt greetings to each and every one of you, venerables, Dharma sisters and brothers, and especially to the children and the babies that are here. It is quite the honor to get to read Undaria's piece on Buddhism, justice, freedom, and activism. She's not able to be here because she's in Ulaanbaatar, doing her work, working for human rights, because there are hundreds of Democrats missing. And so she is working to make sure that they are, where are they, and how are they being treated. So I invite you to read her piece, okay? Because she starts out with a little piece that I'm not going to read that talks about her. And I'm going to go right into freedom and democracy. First, let me share a few thoughts on democracy as a political system that seeks to enable people to live in freedom. The democratic systems we know as of today are liberal bourgeoisie democracies, a model that was proposed to Mongolia by foreign Western experts in the 1990s, and the model that we, Mongolian Democrats, have since then actively sought to emulate. While many of the social problems we have today stem from a variety of tough problems, I believe one of them has to do with the fundamental assumption of a liberal democratic model. One of the critical assumptions in this model is that a person is a bonded individual, bonded both in time longitudinally and bonded in terms of space horizontally, and isolated clearly from other equally discrete individuals. Let's call this a limited person. This limited person, precisely because he is limited, is capable of clearly defining his, her self-interest and puts his, her self-interest above others' interests. Then, through voting, all these discrete interests are combined and the majority wins over. To make the system more humane, the minorities are guaranteed special protection and special rights so that they are not entirely crushed by the majority. To be sure, individuals may all vote for the so-called common good, but the liberal theory goes they will do so still based on their self-interest, not out of altruism. The liberal democratic model fundamentally depends on this supposed clarity and stability of boundaries between persons and the ability of the person to clearly define his/her boundaries, hence his/her self-interest. The problems begin to arise when some persons may not, when they, for a variety of reasons, may put others' interests dear to their heart. Valuing someone else's interests above one's own is a dangerous delusion for liberal Democrats. From here arises their fear that personal boundaries may not be clearly drawn, that self-interests may be narrowly and clearly defined. The whole educational system outside and inside of schools and countries like US are thus dedicated to raising self-interested individuals, individuals who are afraid to open themselves to the world, to other human beings, to become permeable and diluted. People in liberal democracies must clearly define themselves, and most of the time they do so by defining themselves as something against something. I like spinach soup. I do not like carrot soup. Or, I am a Democrat. I am not an authoritarian. I am a feminist. I am against patriarchy. I am a woman, not a man. Or vice versa, I am a man, not a woman. These definitions are not just thought. Often they are demonstratively enacted, visibly and loudly. These identities are marked by words, acts, material things, as well as thoughts, ideas, ideologies. These markers are then taken as signs of freedom. A person who is able to define his/her boundaries against supposed external forces, things, ideas, is deemed to be free. This is what we may call a negative definition of freedom. It is defined in relation to external objects in negative terms, and from it comes a force of destruction, isolation, and separation. The inside of those high walls of the individuality is filled with fear of the weakness and the permeability of the walls mixed with the desire to jump outside the walls and connect to other souls directly without mediation. The stronger the desire, the bigger the fear. A result is an individual whose integrity is compromised by the inner conflict. Since this conflict is painful, most people shove it into the realm of the unconscious. The modern civilizations have huge deposits filled with unconscious and unexamined and therefore potentially explosive impulses. We are sitting on a time bomb. In order to deal with their fear and achieve so-called security, humans have sought to increase their power, material power to control others, be it other humans or other things. Money has served as the proxy for this material power. Hence, the race for more and more wealth at individual as well as collective levels. What lies underneath is the desire to achieve a state of fearlessness or security. But under these terms, this goal can never be achieved, but the race never stops. In Buddhism, however, a person is a non-person. Thinking that one is a discrete individual, separate and separable from other human beings and other beings in the universe is the delusion. Fundamentally, we share the same qualities, and even humanity is not a discrete, stable phenomenon, but a temporary manifestation of a more fundamental phenomenon: universal mind, life force, or energy. However, one may choose to call that magic unlimited reality. I am the cloud, the earth, the stone, the flower, my neighbor, or that boy far away in the Andes, or the herder in New Zealand. I am all of that, as well as myself, understood in conventional terms. Through our compassionate hearts, we do not observe the suffering of others. We feel it as our own. There is no other in the Buddhist paradigm. We are one. Different and same. Diverse and one. These are not contradictory phenomena in the Buddhist world. Defining oneself as a stable entity or as against something is not possible. One can only feel oneself with the universal energy on the path to spiritual development. And freedom here means letting go entirely of the markers, whether positive or negative, shedding of all labels, and being free to create, to roam, to feel from the deep inside. Freedom here is naivete, freshness, spontaneity, creativity, permeability, transparency, total absence of fear, and total energy. And what's more, this freedom is largely conceived as being independent of external conditions, including, in principle, political systems. But I'm not ready to let go of democratic political institutions. I believe them to be extremely important in improving people's lives. However, how do we reconcile these contradictions? If we pursue our spiritual development, we should seek to expand our understanding of ourselves as non-selves. Yet, the way liberal democracy is currently conceived and structured, non-self would be its demise. Is it possible to reconceptualize humane and democratic systems so as not to preclude, suppress, or ignore spiritual aspirations, and I would say truth? Right now, I don't have an answer to this question, but one thing I believe strongly in is that we should not foreclose our quest for such a possibility. We leave room for imagination of a different system that is more harmonious with the reality. Justice. But let's take an aspect of a democratic system, justice system, and try to imagine how Buddhism might inform the reform of this system. The modern notions of justice are also based on the notion of bonded, limited individuals. When a person commits a so-called crime, let's say a violent crime, he or she is the one that committed it. So the penalty should fall on him, her only, unless there were accomplices or individuals that somehow participated in the making of the crime. Then, with the exception of very few countries, justice is understood as retribution, revenge, punishment. Looking at a criminal and thinking he or she deserves to be jailed or even serve death penalty is possible only if one maintains clear boundaries between oneself as a non-criminal and the other as the criminal. It is believed the criminal impulse came from the discrete soul of that individual and that we have nothing to do with such criminal or violent impulses. Usual compassion is suspended through the ultimate othering of the criminal, and he, she is thought of having compromised his, her humanity by committing that hideous crime. Buddhism and other similar spiritual traditions encourage us to look deep within and realize that we share those dark impulses and that we have partaken in the maintenance, promotion, and escalation of violence. Thich Nhat Hanh once wrote, "When a soldier rapes a girl, I am that soldier. I am that girl. By these words, he seeks to help us understand the depth of what it means. We are one in our humanity. Violence that exists in the world is our collective product. We share in it. We have participated in it. There is no easy way to externalize the responsibility for violence in the society onto specific individuals. There is so much more in this paper. So the conclusion I'm going to just stop here. Otherwise, I'm going to try to run like a banshee through it. And I don't want to do that. She says here, the subtle understanding of the workings of the mind and teaching as a process intended in assisting the liberation of the mind has very important implications for pro-democracy, human rights, and gender equality activism. It calls for a more creative and self-critical and therefore more demanding, but also a more fun approach to our training, advocacy, public education, and public awareness raising programs. It calls for an open-minded, fresher attitude to our work and our lives, to consciously avoid falling to the old patterns and constantly try new ways of doing things. The last thing, easy to remember, but so often so hard to do, is to remember to keep happy and have fun, even when engaged in difficult struggles. This is the best way to prevent violence and aggression from forming and growing inside, thus to remain free of violence.
Thank you, Zimbabwe. That talk is in the booklet that you were given, so you can refer to it and maybe read it again with the pages that we had to leave out. I was just looking at my watch, and it is 2:30, and I know that there's a full program this afternoon. So at this time, I think I'm going to just leave the questions and would suggest that maybe at tea time, if you have questions for our four speakers here, that you have the opportunity to have tea with them and ask your questions. I have, this was left behind, which I'll leave here for whoever it may belong to. And I was told to ask Christy to come, but I don't see her. Christy?
Sorry.
Right there.
Okay, the topic is Buddhist rule. Yes, it's going to be about different traditions. Mongolian, the Mongolian nunnery, the group that performed yesterday, I heard that they're on their way here. Again, they want to do a Mongolian puja. So if you're interested in seeing them and joining them, okay, and so tonight, if I have more update, I'll let you know, I'll keep you informed. Thank you.
Spread throughout the world, all our discussions we've had today, and all of our workshops, and all of our heartfelt words to go out to the world with joy that we're all feeling, I know will go out to the world. And so we'd like to dedicate the merit of all of the work that we've done all along. Okay. All right. Yes. Okay.
Start from the beginning.
Okay. So, starting from the beginning, the story of my life. So, I was saying just in case you hadn't heard that
can see that everyone is really feeling joyous from all that we did this week. And okay, so we are dedicating the merit of all the discussions we had, and all the workshops, and all the heartfelt words that were said and shared with each other, and all the wonderful connections we made this week. And even though this is the closure, we all know it's the opening of something else to come.
데이터에서 다루던 가족의 일단 이게 얻었잖아. 이게 포괄은 무슨 했다. 이게 문제를 수행하나 기분 유사합니다.
Different traditions. So first, I'm being cute here. So first to dedicate the merit of this gathering here to all sentient beings, and to all of those in the world who don't have opportunity or who don't have the environment or space to do what we're doing this week. I'm dedicating the merit, we are dedicating the merit of this gathering to all of those sentient beings. So, as I said, we will begin with chanting the Heart Sutra from the different traditions. And first, no, we're not doing the Heart Sutra. So, your choice of chanting, whatever dedication you want to do. So, first group will be three groups actually from the Mongolian people, and we're going to start with the Narahachi group. 3 minutes. Come forward.
Thank you.
group, Theravada, led by Thai. Theravada, led by Thai.
Next group, Chinese.
Devo
우리 살타의 반야바람을 타고 신부가에 무가에 무유공포 원리전도 몽상 구경열반 삼세제불의 반야바람을 타고 드반육따라 삼약삼보리 고지 반야바람을 타 시대 진주시대 명주시모 상주시모 등등 주영제일체고 진실구로 고설반야 바라밀다 주죽설주아라제아제바라 승아제 무지사바 아제바라 승아제 무지사바 아제바라 승아제 무지사바. Thank you, Vietnamese delegations from Vietnam.
So next we will have a message that was sent to us by His Holiness. Tammy Hood will be reading this. And will you translate? Huh?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start, I just want to express my gratitude to all the organizers of this conference, as well as our incredibly hospitable hosts. With the Christian Council, we always have the room to us. In the context of our contact with the group of faith in the night. In ancient times, I believe man and woman were more or less equal, with everyone sharing an equal load of work. But later, as people became settled in communities, owning property and so forth, power became a factor between them. The basis for this distinction was physical strength. And because men are physically stronger, they came to dominate women. In modern times, with the introduction of equal access to education, the emphasis has shifted from physical strength to intelligence and how we use our brains. So the difference between the sexes is now less evident than before.